Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All right, it is a Friday, Black Friday down south, and I guess here in Canada as well. By the way, I Love You, You Love Me was at the end of every Barney episode of several submissions.
That just tells you I watched the whole thing.
Informing us of that in the Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. Joined now by NHL analyst John Shannon, also co-host of the Bob McCown podcast. How are you, sir?
Great. I'm surprised they're not blaming Gary Bettman for doing that at the end of the show every time.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theorists, you know?
Yes.
He does everything. He ruins everything, according to everybody else. So.
Are you a Bettman fan, John?
Yeah, I am. I am. I'm lucky enough to work for the guy for 5 years. Mm-hmm. He's very loyal. He has the right intention. I can understand why people kind of get perturbed at him sometimes, because I used to get perturbed at him too. But yeah, no, I became much more of a fan of him after being with him for 5 years. Yeah.
Would you be okay with Connor Bedard ending up with the Chicago Blackhawks, who seem to be doing things the right way in terms of a rebuild with more to come?
What, losing?
Well, and then trading away assets they don't believe in anymore and building for the future.
Yeah, with no guarantee that they're going to get Connor Bedard. You know, I mean, that's the magic of the lottery, right?
Yeah.
So to try to at least create the perception of some level of fairness. So, listen, if Connor Bedard ended up in Chicago, it would be great for the Blackhawks and probably great for the National Hockey League. But there's no guarantee of that. If they thought that Connor McDavid wouldn't be in Edmonton.
Yeah. Hey, John, speaking of great, we lost Borje Salming this week. Your memories, and I can't remember if we talked about this last week with you, and I apologize for that, but your memories of the late, hard to say, great Borje Salming.
Well, for 2 or 3 generations now, he was just, he was a Maple Leaf defenseman, but he was much more than that. He was a groundbreaker. You know, he wasn't the first Swede to play in the NHL, but he certainly was the most impactful. And I think he paved the way for not just Swedes, but Europeans to make an impact in the game. Mm-hmm. And it would have happened. It would have happened, Donnie. It would have happened, but it wouldn't have happened as soon. You remember when Anders Hedberg and Ulf Nielsen went to Winnipeg in the WHA. That was spurred by Salming's success in Toronto, and there's ton of success of Swedes over the years because of what Salming did. This guy was viewed as a hockey god in Sweden. Last night at a Swedish hockey game, after they announced his passing, the fans started to chant his name. Yeah. We revered him. They worshipped him, and I think that his impact has gone on for a long period of time, a lot longer, I think, than people realize.
John, here we are at the U.S. Thanksgiving, the 20-game mark, and you know as well as anybody else that teams start figuring out where they are at the 20-game mark and adjust accordingly. What do you think with the Canucks at the 20-game mark, 7-10-3? Jim Rutherford's got to sit down and he's got to chart the course. What's that course going to look like for the rest of the year?
Well, let me ask you this. Which team are we talking about? Are we talking about the team that looked pretty good in Denver coming from behind? Yeah. Or are we talking about the team that lost to Vegas and couldn't hold a 2-goal lead? I think that's the biggest frustration, is that the Jekyll and Hyde aspect of this hockey club. The reality of what is happening in Vancouver is they certainly can score goals.
Yeah.
And when they get goaltending, and this is not a criticism, this is a reality. When they get goaltending, whether it be Spencer Martin or Thatcher Demko, they can be competitive. The challenge becomes is what do you do with those 6 guys between the forwards and the defensemen? And they're trying to fix it, and I'm not sure it's fixable this year in a flat cap world.
John, there is one heck of a big contract coming up in Vancouver. Bo Horvat, you know his people in Newport, Pat Morris. I don't think the price for Mr. Horvat's going down anytime soon if he keeps this torrid pace. But boy, oh boy, the coming weeks is going to be some heck of a big story coming up in Vancouver with what happens with Bo Horvat.
The Canucks may be changing their opinion, but I wonder if Bo Horvat's changing his opinion too. And you wonder with his success and his discussions with Pat Morris, maybe the conversation is, let's just wait.
Yeah.
Why rush now? Unless there's a huge desire to finish his career, or at least the next 7 or 8 years of his career in Vancouver, or why not wait and decide whether, next summer looks pretty darn good. Leading or being tied with the lead for goals in the NHL is certainly going to garner you interest. His face-off success is going to garner you interest. I mean, I'm sure there are teams drooling at the prospect of Bo Horvat becoming an unrestricted free agent on July the 1st. And if a little while longer, I wouldn't be surprised to see Horvat thinking the same thing, that his number might get even bigger and perhaps the Canucks can't even match.
Yeah, he wouldn't mind some playoff success. There was some in the bubble, but that was the bubble and not much since. Hey, John, you had Ron Francis on the Bob McCowan podcast. The Kraken are 11-5-2, 3 straight wins. What does Ron Francis like about the way his team is performing so far this season?
Well, he talked a lot about a kid from North Vancouver, Martin Jones, who he gives his goaltending coach a ton of credit for not trying to reinvent, but just tweaking with. So that's one great story there. I think the most important thing was that because he has so much money available to him in cap and cash, that he's able to tweak constantly, and he's able to take players off of other teams like Oliver Bjorkstrand, to get Burakovsky. And team speed, guys. I think Ron Francis identified this a long time ago when he was in Carolina, when he didn't have near the money, but speed wins. And so that's what they've been able to do. This Matty Beniers kid's pretty good, and now they have the luxury of trying to take their time with a guy like Shane Wright, who they've sent to the American League, and he scored in both games so far, to see what happens. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Wright get optioned to the World Junior team, and then they can make a decision in January when they need to, what happens with Wright for the rest of the season.
Hey, John, I don't know if you know this. I don't think you travel as much as you used to, but the Canucks are in Vegas. Do the players, and they have a couple of days between games there, do players get up to things in Vegas that they wouldn't normally get up to in other cities?
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I will tell you, the first couple of years that, coaches and managers tried to make the trips to Vegas a lot shorter or as short as possible. In late the night before and out right after the game. Whether that's changed or not is an interesting one. Lots of teams have decided to have rookie dinners there because it's a great place to entertain, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I really haven't noticed and haven't heard very much any discussion of, well, we can't leave our team in that city for too long. Hey, by the way, you can get in much trouble in Vancouver as you can in Vegas.
Yeah.
Vancouver had a bad or good reputation, if you want to look at it that way.
Well, we had the Philly flu. We had the Philly flu, and we had the Roxy flu, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Rick still has it.
No, my days are over.
John,
no, come on. I mean, not when you're singing Barney songs.
That's not going to get you far at the Roxy, I'll tell you that.
That just tells me how old I am.
Yeah. Hey, John, thanks for this. Appreciate that, and God bless Borje.
Yes, sir. The king lives.
Yep. Thanks so much, John. We'll talk to you next Thursday.